Right now, someone you know is using a psychological tactic on you, and you don't even realize it. A coworker who makes you feel guilty for saying no. A friend who twists every argument until you're the one apologizing. A stranger online who seems to know exactly what to say to make you trust them instantly. This isn't luck. It's a skill. And once you understand how it works, you'll never be caught off guard by it again. Today, we're breaking down the basics of dark psychology. Not so you can manipulate people, but so you can finally see the game being played around you every single day. What dark psychology actually is. Dark psychology is the study of the human mind when it's used to influence, control, or exploit others for personal gain. It sits at the intersection of persuasion, manipulation, and control. Normal persuasion, like a friend convincing you to try a new restaurant, respects your right to say no. Dark psychology doesn't. Its goal is to bypass your rational judgment and get you to act against your own interests, often without you noticing it happened at all. It's not some rare, exotic skill either. Salespeople, cult leaders, abusive partners, con artists, and even some highly successful executives use pieces of it every day. The tactics themselves are just tools. What makes them dark is the intent behind them, using someone else's mind against their own well-being. The Dark Triad. To understand dark psychology, you need to understand the 3 personality traits psychologists call the Dark Triad. Narcissism, an inflated sense of self-importance combined with a constant need for admiration. Narcissists often see other people as tools to boost their own image. Machiavellianism, named after the political strategist Niccolò Machiavelli. This trait describes someone who is calculating, strategic, and willing to manipulate others to achieve a goal, with little concern for honesty or fairness. Psychopathy, marked by a lack of empathy, impulsivity, and a willingness to exploit others without guilt. Most people don't sit at the extreme end of all 3. But almost everyone has met someone who shows a strong dose of at least one. The charming boss who takes credit for your work, the partner who never seems to feel remorse, the friend who always seems to be playing an angle. Core manipulation tactics. Gaslighting, repeatedly denying someone's reality until they start doubting their own memory and judgment. That never happened. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. Over time, the target stops trusting their own perception, which makes them easier to control. Love bombing, showering someone with excessive attention, compliments, and affection early in a relationship. It feels flattering, even intoxicating, but it's often designed to create fast emotional dependency before the manipulation begins. The foot in the door technique, asking for something small first, knowing that once someone agrees, they're psychologically more likely to agree to a much bigger request later. Guilt tripping, weaponizing someone's own conscience by framing their boundaries as selfishness, so they give in just to relieve the discomfort. Triangulation, bringing a third person into a conflict to validate one side's version of events, isolate the target, or create jealousy and insecurity. Each of these tactics shares one thing in common. They don't attack with force. They quietly steer emotions until the target makes the choice the manipulator wanted all along, while still believing it was their own idea. Why these tactics work? Dark psychology succeeds because it exploits mental shortcuts our brains rely on every day. Psychologists call these cognitive biases. Reciprocity bias, our automatic urge to return a favor. A manipulator who does something small for you creates an unconscious sense of obligation. Social proof, our tendency to look at what others are doing to decide what's correct. This is why manipulators often claim everyone else is doing it to pressure compliance. Sunk cost fallacy. Once we've invested time, money, or emotion into something, we find it incredibly hard to walk away, even when we know we should. Manipulators use this to keep victims locked into unhealthy relationships or bad deals. None of these biases mean you're weak or foolish. They're built into how human brains process information quickly. Manipulators simply learn to pull those levers on purpose. Slow down before big decisions. Manipulation thrives on urgency. You have to decide right now. Give yourself time, and most manipulative pressure loses its power. Trust consistent patterns over isolated words. Anyone can say the right thing once. Watch what someone does repeatedly over time. That tells you who they really are. Protect your boundaries without needing to justify them. You don't owe anyone a lengthy explanation for saying no. No is a complete sentence. Notice the feeling of confusion. If you constantly feel confused, guilty, or like you're going crazy around a specific person, don't dismiss that feeling. It's often the clearest signal that something manipulative is happening. Understanding dark psychology isn't about becoming cynical or suspicious of everyone. It's about recognizing the difference between healthy influence and exploitation, so you can walk through relationships, workplaces, and negotiations with clear eyes. Dark psychology has existed for as long as humans have lived in groups, but most people go their whole lives never learning to recognize it. Now you can. If this helped you see a pattern in your own life a little more clearly, hit subscribe, because next time we're going deeper into one of the most dangerous manipulation tactics of all, and how to spot it before it's too late.